Today we're going to talk about something kind of wild. It's a story of how a really old-school IT trick, something designed to fix a simple server crash, accidentally gave us the key to beating modern professional cybercrime.
So, when you hear hacker, what pops into your head? Probably some guy in a hoodie, right? A lone wolf tapping away in a dark room. Well, I'm here to tell you, that picture is completely wrong. The real threat today, it looks nothing like that.
It's a franchise! No, seriously, think about it. The kind of cybercrime that shuts down entire hospitals, that cripples pipelines. It's not a one-person job. It's run like a global business. Professional, scalable, and yeah, crazy profitable.
And this business model, it has a name. You've probably heard of it. Ransomware-as-a-Service, or RaaS for short. This is the thing that turned hacking into a profession, and it means we have to get just as professional about how we defend against it.
So how does it work? Well, it's pretty much just like a fast food franchise. You've got the operators. Think of them as corporate HQ. They create the ransomware, the secret sauce, if you will. Then you've got the affiliates. These are the franchisees. They don't need to know how to cook. They just lease the toolkit, launch the attacks, and split the profits with the operators. It's a scary thought, but this model makes it possible for almost anyone to get into the cybercrime game.
And these affiliates, they're not just winging it. They follow a playbook, and it is brutally effective. Step 1, get into the network. Step 2, and listen, this is the most important part, they immediately hunt down and destroy your backups. Why? Because they know if you have backups, you're not going to pay the ransom. It's that simple. Only after they've completely sunk your lifeboats do they move on to step 3, encrypt everything and hit you with that ransom demand.
Okay, but here's where the story gets really interesting. The key to beating this super modern, sophisticated threat, it wasn't invented in some high-tech lab last year. Nope, the blueprint was actually perfected way back, more than a decade ago, all to solve a way simpler problem. So let's time travel back to 2009. Picture this, a classic IT war story. You've got this critical but kind of flaky old server, and it's running out of disk space for its own backups. So a savvy admin does the smart thing. They set up a daily backup to a totally separate Linux machine somewhere else on the network. And then, you guessed it, the old server finally gives up the ghost. Complete hardware failure. This could have been a total disaster, right? But because of that remote backup, all they had to do was redirect the URL over to the Linux machine and boom, they were back up and running in just a few hours. Just a simple, clever solution to a hardware problem. So you're probably wondering, okay, neat story, but what on earth does a server crash in 2009 have to do with a global criminal franchise today? Well, as it turns out, everything. The basic idea behind that fix is exactly what we need now. This really lays it all out. That flaky old server from our story, that's your main production system today. The server crash? Well, that's the ransomware attack that encrypts everything. And that remote Linux backup? That's your isolated, off-site backup vault. It's the one thing the attackers are trying to find but can't. And redirecting the URL? That's just your disaster recovery plan kicking in. See? The players have changed, but the game is the same. Okay, so that 2009 plan is a fantastic blueprint, but it needs some serious upgrades for the modern era. Here's why. Back then, the enemy was just a piece of faulty hardware. It wasn't smart. Today, our enemy is a thinking, breathing human being who is actively hunting for our weak spots. So it all comes down to how the backup actually happens. There's a huge difference between a push and a pull. With a push, your main server initiates the transfer. It sends the data to the backup server. The problem, that leaves clues behind, credentials, network paths, that an attacker can just follow like a trail of breadcrumbs right to your backups. But the 2009 solution, that was a pull. The separate secure backup server reached out and pulled the data from production. That means there were no credentials, no map to the treasure sitting on the main system for the attacker to find. It basically hides the getaway car. But you know, what if a really determined attacker does manage to find your backup vault? What then? That's where we add our next layer of armor, immutability. It's a fancy word, but the idea is simple. We use tech called WORM, which stands for Write Once, Read Many. It means that once a backup is saved, it is locked. It cannot be changed or deleted for a specific amount of time, not even by someone who has stolen the admin keys to the kingdom. It's the ultimate, you can't touch this for your data. All right, the last piece of the modern fortress is all about speed. These RaaS attackers move incredibly fast. By the time a human security team gets an alert that something's wrong, the damage is often already done. You can't fight a machine with human reaction times. You have to fight fire with fire.
You have to move at machine speed.
And here's how that works today. Modern systems don't wait for the fire to start. They're looking for the smoke. They spot the very first signs of trouble. Maybe a weird process trying to connect to a sensitive file. The split second that happens, before any damage is done, an automated system takes a clean snapshot of your application. If it turns out to be a real threat, an automated recovery kicks in using that pristine snapshot. If it's just a false alarm, no big deal. The snapshot just gets tossed out. It's a defense that gets ahead of the attack.
So that's the whole package, the evolved fortress. It's all built on that simple 2009 idea, but supercharged for today. And it really comes down to three key things. First, you use pull-based isolation to hide the path to your backups. Second, you use immutability to make those backups indestructible. And third, you use proactive automation to detect and recover before the attackers even know what hit them.
And really, it all boils down to this one question. Your disaster recovery plan. Yeah, it can probably handle a hardware crash. We've been doing that for years. But can it survive a criminal franchise? A professional, motivated business whose entire goal is to bring you down? That's the question we all need to be asking ourselves now.